Hey guys, welcome to the Noughties. Please leave your snowflake attitude at the door and come back to possibly the last good decade we'll see on this planet. For those of you who weren't alive at this time, this was a time before Netflix and Disney Plus, but rather we had to buy these things called DVDs to get our entertainment. An alternative to this was television. If you recognise this screen, you were privileged in my eyes. At my house, all we had was Freeview. However, this was home to one of the greatest channels on earth, CBBC. This was a spin-off of the BBC aimed at children. It hosted a bunch of shows from 7 to 7. After that, it was time to go to bed. So today, I thought we would take a look at some of the old shows I remember from my childhood, and hopefully you remember them too. So I found a schedule from 2008 to look at quickly, and the first show on the day is News Round. This was basically a short news show, but with relevant news for children. So sorry Brexit, you can't get us here. News Round currently has a very modern aesthetic to it, which is very appealing. However, you can't beat the original eye-catching green and purple vibe they had going. After watching the classic News Round intro, I dare anyone not to be fucking pumped to watch the news. But now I think it's time we looked at some real shows, the stuff you would wake up early before school to watch. Now these days, when I say hilarious sitcom, what do you think of? How I Met Your Mother? Big Bang Theory? Hope not, because everyone knows the real quality sitcom was Basil Brush. The original show went from 1963 to 1984, but the one we're talking about today is the Basil Brush Show, which only lived from 2002 to 2007. This version of the show had a new cast for Basil to live with. Also in this new show was Basil's cousin Mortimer, a more edgy version of the fox, complete with a leather jacket and chains. You would not want to run into this fox late at night in the alley next to Anil's Cafe. The new version of the show put a large focus on comedy, complete with a laughing track. But back in the day, I remember this show being genuinely funny to me and my siblings. The next item on the schedule is The Owl, which I don't remember much about. It was just a short series between shows. Episodes would be a couple of minutes, meaning it was the perfect opportunity to get a snack or a drink. Remember, this was before pausing live TV. Another memorable show from this day was Raw. This was probably the inspiration for David Attenborough. Raw was an educational style show filmed at Portland Zoo and taught children about how a zoo runs and the animals in it. Personally, I wasn't a huge fan of the show, but I was more into the game. It was on the CBBC website, but I couldn't find any videos of it online. But you'd basically create an account and be able to build your own zoo. And at the end of episodes, the viewers were given a code, if I remember correctly, which could be entered in the game for bonus items. Now that's synergy. Moving on to the afternoon now, and we don't see much interesting content until after school, which is around 3 o'clock, 3:30. Unless you like Bernard, who I believe ended up having his own films. A show which is actually noteworthy, however, is Chucklevision. If you're British and haven't seen this show, well, I don't think you count as British. Chucklevision followed the strange adventures of the Chuckle brothers, Barry and Paul, where they would end up in all sorts of trouble. But I think their greatest outing was when they collaborated with music genius Tinchy Stryder, a rapper. Honestly, if you haven't heard this song and like the Chuckle brothers, your life is incomplete. It has most of their classic catchphrases such as, to me, to you, which I still say whenever I carry something with someone. A bit later in the afternoon, we are treated to The Story of Tracy Beaker, which followed her experiences in the dumping ground as she waited for a foster parent to take her home after her supposed Hollywood mother abandoned her. This series was based off the books under the same name by Jacqueline Wilson. There were 2 follow-up shows to this, named Tracy Beaker Returns and The Dumping Ground. And then the lead actor Danny Harmer went on to star in the 2008 show Danny's House. I personally never watched these shows by choice, but rather remember them because of my classmates being obsessed with them and my sister watching it. Another show which I have fond memories of was the Prank Patrol. In this 2007 series, host Barney Harwood helped a child to prank their friends. Looking back at it now, I'm not sure how believable these pranks were, but it was always entertaining watching a kid freak out after seeing a dinosaur egg hatch or whatever prank they were doing that day. This show has everything parents would dream their kids would be doing, being lured into a van and having a man find out all their personal information. Barney was not alone in his mission, however. He was always accompanied by the ninjas. At certain parts of the episode, they would go out to the public and play practical jokes on them, accompanied with weird sound effects. Speaking of Barney Harwood, this wasn't his only CBBC appearance. The first thing I remember seeing him in was Smile, a Sunday morning show which he hosted. However, it was eventually moved to BBC Two in order to make room for Dick and Dom in the Bungalow. Barney would host Smile with his blue bear Nev, and they would present shows such as Arthur, Jakers, and even Stevens. All quality shows, which hopefully you remember. Now, like Moses said, a show is only as good as its presenter, and Barney was the best. So good that he went on to present the main CBBC channel for several years in the noughties. Smile wasn't the last CBBC appearance for Nev either. Him and Barney got their own show in 2007 named Bear Behaving Badly, which introduced new characters, including a koala named Keith. Back in the day, I remember really wanting the Talking Nev toy, which I saw advertised everywhere and in the Argos catalogues. Nev, however, wasn't the only puppet host on CBBC. Later in 2007, Ed Petrie, took over as the host and was accompanied by his prickly partner, Oucho T. Cactus. Hilarious. Obviously, they were never as good as Barney and Nev, but they were a decent substitute. Well, that's it. There can't be any more shows from CBBC that I remember. Obviously, there are hundreds of more shows that I'd like to cover in this video, but I just don't have the time. Maybe I'll look at some more in the future, but for now, those are all the ones I'd like to look at today. Let me know in the comment section which shows you liked as a kid, and which nostalgic products I should take a look at next. Hopefully, see you soon.